Welcome back to Desk Careers, everybody. I'm so excited to bring another amazing guest to our Desk Careers Spotlight series. Today we welcome Rosa Bullock, who is the founder and PR guru of Associate. Welcome, Rosa. It's so great to have you with us today.
Thank you very much for having me, Maria. It's great to be with you.
I am so excited. We have worked together on my brand. We've worked with you here at Desk. We've had students doing internships with your team. It's so exciting to finally have the PR guru. And we want to be talking about not just Associate, but also Rosa Bullock and the career, where it started and how it brought you to becoming the founder of Associate. Let's take you back in time. Can you remember being around 15 or 16 years old and somebody asking you, what do you want to be when you grow up? Or what do you want to do when you graduate? Can you remember the mindset and what you were thinking about for your future career?
I certainly can, and mine actually started when I was 13. So I'm probably one of the few people that's had, not specifically career, but certainly what I wanted to study, actually ingrained from an early age. So my mom used to buy me Vogue. She used to call it the world's most expensive magazine. I think it was nearly £5 back in the day. It was a couple of years ago. So with that, they used to have, and I think they still do actually, they have the classified section at the back, and there was this tiny little advert, little square, and it was London College of Fashion. So with that, it said sign up for prospectus, or call up as it was then, for prospectus. And I did. It arrived, and I looked through this prospectus and I thought, I want to go to fashion school. Wow. I looked through and I was like, right, okay, fashion designer. I'm going to be a fashion designer. And I remember my dad saying to me, Rosa, our surname, Bullock, remember, is not McCartney. Maybe choose a different career. Now, equally with that, whilst I was creative, I wasn't very arty. I couldn't draw really. I could create, but anyway, it wasn't my strong point. And my dad picked up on that, I think. And he said, why don't you look for something a little bit more business-led? So I found fashion management, and there was many areas where I could specialize. Marketing was one of them. So with that, I was able to kind of pinpoint it at 13, if you like. And I applied for that prospectus every year until it got to, obviously, A-levels, GCSEs, and then A-levels, and then was able to, and lucky enough to get the right grades and actually do it. So it started from an early age. I knew I wanted to do fashion management. I don't think I knew what I wanted to specialize as far as like which career and stuff necessarily, but I knew that London was calling me, that's for sure.
Incredible. I love how you remembered that with a smile on your face.
Yeah, 100%.
Talk to us about the journey from being a student to becoming the founder of your own enterprise. What was that journey like?
Well, uni for me was 4 years. So I did a year working in industry, if you like. So I kind of had an experience of in-house PR, and I also had an experience of magazines. That was in my third year. Then in my fourth year, I went back to university, obviously to graduate. And then I had the Bright Lights of London still with me, and I got offered an internship, but it was pretty much a promised job at Grazia, which was obviously dream come true. Unfortunately, though, or fortunately, depending on, well, unfortunately now, because I'm not married to the same man, but I fell in love with a boy that was in my hometown and decided to leave the Bright Lights of London. And I actually went and worked for my mom. Now, some people might think, oh, there's the easy option, the family business. Rosa left what she was supposed to do. Why did she study? But actually, in working for my mom for 3 years, I probably learned more about business, that's for sure, because where I'd specialized very heavily in marketing and PR, actually working for mom, she had me hiring and firing people. She had me doing her payroll. I was kind of her right-hand person at 21, 22 years old. So I learned so much about areas of business that I would never have learned, or you could never learn through study. And it certainly wasn't the easy option, because it wasn't an easy ride necessarily. She treated me like an employee. And in that sense, I learned so much from there. But then I did go back into fashion, and I worked for River Island in the UK as a product manager. So I was bringing together visual merchandising and product management, and kind of like what we called it, the science of shopping, why people buy. And then when I came out to Dubai, I actually worked as a PR manager. Didn't like the way the industry was here really at that time. It was very much controlled by the big agencies, which led me back to my entrepreneurial dream with my mom, in order to then start that and go, do you know what, I could actually do this differently myself. So from the sense of leaving university to starting and kind of creating Associate, I went on a little bit of a woven web, but it's only helped me to where I am today.
Incredible. So being an entrepreneur is, would you say, in your blood?
Yeah, 100%. And I think I remember from my mom's sense, like one of her spare rooms in our house in the UK, she turned into an office. It used to be my bedroom actually. So out I went and it became an office, and she's had her own business since I was about 8 years old, I think. So my first job, if you like, I actually was earning 20 pence an hour working at her kids club. I was actually a child at the kids club really, but there was a kind of mentality behind Rosa will hand the biscuits out, Rosa will help everyone get into a line and stuff. So I definitely got it from her, that's for sure. But yeah, in my blood, because I don't know any different really, I think.
Incredible. I know that one of your top tips for a young person thinking about a career is don't be afraid to work, and it's never going to be easy, but do something that you love. It's something that we hear a lot when we're working with the youth, but also becomes conflicting advice when it comes to applying to university. What would you say, how would you say that doing something you love and not being afraid of making that next step, what kind of advice would you give to a young person?
I think in the sense of doing something you love, it's there's a phrase, isn't there, and it's at the tip of my tongue, that you never work a day in your life if you do something you love. So I think if you're looking at a subject that's quite varied, like say English, I think it's just good to have English or geography. It's good to have an idea of where that could take you. Whilst doing something you love is very good for the soul, 100%. If you're looking at it from a career point of view, there's lots, like, investigate that as careers, or do lots of internships to be able to see what's going to work for you and how that could result in a career. I had friends and the reason I said English, I guess, is because I had friends whilst I was at uni that did English, and you'd still say to them, well, what do you want to be? Oh, I don't know, I'm just at uni. And I was always like, well, you have no idea what it could. Well, no, I'll get my degree and then I'll decide. And whilst, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that's not the right thing to do. It's kind of, for me, it was always, well, look at things in a way of where it could take you, so you learn in a slightly different way, I guess. Or you get internships to help you do that.
Definitely. And definitely something the young people today need to be thinking more of. It's not just the degree anymore. It's how is it going to be valuable, and how will it make me competitive and prepare me for work? Now, being the founder of Associates and being in the position of hiring and sometimes having to let people go, what tips can you give parents or the youth in preparing themselves for a career, say, in PR and media at Associate?
Okay, so in the sense of that, I think agency life is quite an interesting one, and I've met even like my nieces, my nephews, and they talk to me about their careers, and it's like, agency life, it's so fun, it's so creative, and I think with some of it you have to remember how what's the word, kind of how challenging our industry can be when you're dealing with a marketing calendar in different times of the year. I always say, for example, in December, so when we're looking at the end of the year, we will work incredibly hard till kind of the 19th, 20th. And I don't mean we don't work after that, but then everyone resorts into kind of Christmas time and festive periods and the holidays and so forth. So we hear off clients less, but then in that sense, I can't stress enough how many late nights and early mornings we do when it's peak time. So in that sense, when we're looking at kind of which career and which approach to take, I always kind of talk about a can-do approach with regards to jobs generally, and particularly with working at Associate, because there's some times that are really tough. It's fun, because if you love what you do, it's fun, and also our industry is quite fun. But the hard times are quite grueling. But that being said, we have peaks and troughs, so that it all evens itself out. And one of the phrases I kind of say, it all comes out in the wash. There'll be quieter days versus busier days. I think my team would agree anyway.
What do you look for in new talent? What kinds of things should young people be putting on their CVs if they wanted to work in PR and agency?
Okay, so I've got kind of that from a general sense, and then also a couple of kind of not top tips, but things from me personally that I look out for. Generally, I like to see like a breadth of experience. So when we're looking at that, it's not, well, I did an internship, for example. I talk a lot about internships. I think that's so important, but I did it for a week and now I want a full-time job. Okay, well, what happened in this gap in your CV for like a year? I went traveling. What else did you do? Like, how could you bring something from that to your CV or to your experience? Well, actually, I also learned to manage a team of 5 when I was working in Thailand, because we were running daily boat trips, for example. It doesn't have to be specifically relevant to my career, but I used my time really well, or I gained more experience by doing this. I love seeing where people are additional skills. So, I've upskilled in this, or I've done Udemy courses, or I've read so many books and that kind of thing. I like to see people's experience. One of the things when I look at people coming in for interviews with us, some of the simplest things sometimes get missed or seem to get missed these days. Like I've often said, or for associate, like, which of our clients that we work with at the moment are you most interested in? And people look at me and it's kind of like, oh gosh, I can't believe she's asked me that. And I'm like, well, you should know where you're going to. Like, you should have done your research and the due diligence and stuff. Or like, of our services, which one do you like? And then they'll say, oh, PR, marketing, events, and design. And I'm like, that's all of our services. Like, so it's just that kind of making it a little bit special, I guess. Breadth of experience across industries and kind of how you've adapted situations, and then also know where you're going or know something about the interviews you're going to.
Incredible. I could talk to you forever, Rosa. There's so many questions, so little time. Just wrapping it up, how has the pandemic hit your industry, and what kind of recovery process have you guys had to go through to make it to the other side?
Yeah, it's been an interesting year, that's for sure. 2020 was. So when we look at that, how it hit our industry, back in March 2020, I literally watched 90% of our business walk out of the door within the space of about 2 weeks, which was interesting, worrying, scary, you name it. But what we ended up doing was looking at how we could keep ourselves together as a team. But we had to look at what the current market looked like, what people's budgets were, what the allocation was to PR and marketing, because of course everyone went, oh, I don't need to market now, now's not the time, whereas actually visibility was the time, or it was the time rather for visibility, excuse me. So with that, what we ended up doing was looking at what I class as low-hanging fruit. So as PR professionals, for example, we are trained to be able to write. We also have an in-house copywriter, which of course is wonderful. So even just writing releases, writing blog articles, the smaller things that we would do, but I wouldn't necessarily go after. We were going after the smaller, lower ticket price things. We did reflect on our prices, and we did some really good rates, because I went for survive, not thrive. Survive, stay together as a team, rather than and win business and continue everything going. When I look at kind of things like social media, rather than saying, well, we do full social media management, we were like, right, we can do a strategy and you guys execute it. We can guide you on it, or we could do a few posts rather than do the whole thing. We had some clients that were very happy even doing their own content, but we would do their community management and we would bill them by the hour with regards to how long it took us. And it was very transparent, but it was something to keep us afloat. And it worked. We got through it. We're not out the other end, but we got through it.
What skills did you need to have as a founder and entrepreneur that they didn't teach you in the classroom?
Resilience, I guess. The positivity. I don't think you sometimes realize as an individual even how strong and positive you need to be to get through things. And I think that's not just in work and what the pandemic gave to us, but in day-to-day things as well. I think that's an important one. Strength. It's not taught in the classroom, but you certainly need it as an individual. At the head of or owning a business, that's for sure.
And going back to your degree, you did a BA in fashion management, specializing in marketing. we have young people that are still kind of on the fence about going to university. And then there's almost two camps of guardians and educators, those saying, no, you need to go. You cannot thrive in your life without that degree. And then the others that bring people of success that have not gone to university. How powerful was that degree now that you're where you are in your career?
Am I allowed to be totally honest? Probably not. Yeah, probably not that much. The life experiences, yes. I think I reflect on it from like social etiquette and commitment and dedication to things a lot more than I do kind of what I learned from the textbook. But I also sit probably in a unique industry in that sense. When we look at marketing, introduction of digital marketing, introduction of social media, actually what I learned in that textbook all those years ago, which was, 15 years ago, is not that relevant now. So I think that's why I kind of answer in that way, only because what I remember of university was the commitment to going to lectures. I do remember the subjects, but I don't feel like I use the subjects now.
And I think that's because you're in a very dynamic industry that's changing. Yeah. And fresh graduates today will walk away with knowledge that 5 years from now will be different, because technology is always changing. But you're right, it gave you the opportunity to learn work ethic, I think, going to university.
Yeah, and I definitely think marketing is a unique one in this subject. Had I gone and studied to be a doctor or something more specific, they would still be very much more relevant. But to kind of sum up the marketing, I didn't have Facebook when I was at university. And to certainly your students today, what, you didn't have Facebook or you weren't on TikTok? Like, these things were so new. So now if I was to do my degree again and start today, I am certain there would be syllabus after syllabus after syllabus on social media and digital strategy. I was just at that kind of cusp before that came in. So I think that's one of the reasons why. But also from an experience sense, like, I moved from Birmingham to London at just gone 18. So whoa, culture shock. So expect, like, being on time and all of those things, I take a lot of that from it, 100%. But yeah, I think I definitely could probably do with doing my degree again now, sitting here at 34 or 5, however old I am.
You don't look like you're anyone.
Bless you.
Thank you so much, Rosa. I've had so much fun talking to you. I could talk to you forever, but we do have to bring it to an end. It was such a pleasure having you. We've learned so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining. That was Rosa Bullock, the founder and PR guru of Associates. Rosa, where can we find you? What is your website or Instagram handle?
My website for the company is associate.ae, and either associate.ae on Instagram, or even my personal journey is a mixture of motherhood and career. So find me at Rosa ADB on Instagram.
Fantastic. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.